Well, I see the pop-up in game, so that must mean we're live. Hey, happy Saturday, everybody. Well, unless you're tuning in from the future. And then I guess you missed it. Oh well. Hey, everyone, I'm Gaarawarr. Welcome to Gaarawarr's Guide to the Champions of Renown, Year 3. That's right, we're going to touch on those little packs of champions that they give out. Well, not give out. They put in the store, and then you can throw cash at them and buy them. Yeah. But we always get a lot of questions about the Champions of Renown packs and whether or not they're worth it. So we're going to go over one of those today. I guess we are live. Hey, look at that. The code for today should be one of the brand new Electrum chests. Yay! Enjoy. We opened a bunch of those on my stream yesterday, if you missed it. Good morning, Reaver. Good morning, Siobhan. Welcome, everybody in chat. Good morning to Jay. Hello, hello. They'll be grabbing questions out of the chat. Let's see. Yeah, no, everything looks... Yeah. Oh. I didn't update the code in the overlay. Hold on. We'll do that live. I'm like, that doesn't look right. That was last week. Bam. Look at that. Did it live. Champs of Renown, Year 3. Go get it while you can. Hold on. On my screen, the video looks a little weird. Let me know in chat. Now let me just make sure that I did do the right code. Champs of... Oh, Champs or? Yes. Champs of Renown, Year 3. Wait, did I? Hey, I did okay. I didn't update the date? I don't know what happened. This one's real easy to update though. Look at that. Bam. Now we're doing better. Huh. I don't know. Now I just need to get my stream preview. Okay, now it's functioning. All right. The way it looked like for me, I didn't want to start it off and then we have us be having issues. We did that once. It wasn't fun. All right, so we are looking good. Yep, looks good to Jay. Looks good to everybody in chat. Here we go. Yeah, see, I gave everybody a reason to use my facepalm emote. It's almost like it was planned. Yeah, it wasn't. It wasn't. Newsflash. All right, let us remove some champions so we can talk about some champions. Yeah. Here. The mage hand will do some work while we hop over here because the Champions of Renown... this is just an artificial designation. This is kind of, these were created in these little fun packs each year. If you'll notice, there was a year 1 pack, there was a year 2 pack. Come all the way over here for some reason in mine. I have to go multiple pages over to get to the year 3 pack. Basically, these are year 3 champions. What that means is these are champions that released in the event year 3 that are considered, you know, pretty solid collection of champions. That doesn't necessarily mean they're putting all of the mega overpowered super ultimate champions into one grouping. It does mean they're putting together a useful collection of champions that will give you a variety of things to do. So in the ones we're talking about today, we're going to talk about Krull, who's seen some fixes lately. We're going to talk about Melf. We're going to talk about Havilar, Nova, and Averin. But in and of the pack itself, because one of the first questions we always get is it worth it? That is 5 champions, $55. There's a lot of stuff going on here. You get well, first off, you get all of the champions if you don't own them already, which makes this arguably a better deal for brand new players who don't have these champions yet than it does necessarily for veterans. But that's just kind of the way it works. You get this Mastermind Krull skin. This is not how Krull looks normally, for those of you who don't have him. He has a different appearance. This one's pretty awesome. Like these runes that he's got all light up, and he's got this cool glowy mace. It's pretty neat. Each champion comes with 16 of their own chests. So 16 named specific chests so that you can get a solid amount of gear for them. And they are the gold chests. So you're gonna get at least, if you haven't opened any chests for these characters ever. So if you're picking this up as a new player, you're gonna be guaranteed 2 epics out of these, because whenever you get a brand new chest that you've never encountered before, the pity timer for epics starts at 4. And then after you get your first epic, then it goes to 10. So you're getting at least 2 epics out of these. And then this 10 shiny card up here means each of these packs is going to come with 2 shinies. And shinies give you a boost, 50% boost to power of an item it lands on. Now I'm going to sneeze every time. All right. So you're getting a good amount of power out of this. All the champions, 16 gold chests. That means at least 2 epics. And the rest are going to be, probably out of 16, you're probably going to end up with blues. 2 epics and the rest blues. Unless you have like the worst luck, but you shouldn't. It should all end up blues and then 2 purples. Just with the way chest rules work. And then a cool skin. Mastermind Krull skin, right? So how does that compare normally? If you were to go just to straight up buy chests for a champion that, let's say, you already had, 16 chests is $20. It does get those 2 shinies and then a little boost. That's kind of the bonus. If you don't have the champion yet, you would normally get like a gold plus those 2 shinies for $20. This is something you would normally get if you were just buying that one champion with the chests and getting the stuff. Instead, they're going to throw everything together. They're going to give you 5 champions. They're going to give you the same 2 shinies you would normally get if you were buying that alone, the 16 chests. But then you get a skin, which they value highly because skins. So let's break these out. So the first one we'll bring out Krull. He has seen... Oh, nope, that's not the default skin. That's the Krampus Krull skin. It's fantastic, though. So that's the default Krull skin, as you can see. Not quite as glowy as he is in the Champ of Renown pack. Krull has seen some adjustments lately, so he is now not the... guaranteed #1 overpowered champion in the game. So he had some of his, he had a long-standing bug resolved that was squaring all of his stuff and making him be way more powerful than he should have been. He still has the potential to be incredibly strong. If you still set up the way his instances work, which we'll talk about, he can still be, #1 gold provider in the game. And that's what makes Krull still a great champion to pick up for new players, because it isn't just that his abilities are going to give you some power, it's that you're also going to make a lot of gold. And early on, gold means power in multiple ways, more so than it does for late game players, because early on you need gold to upgrade your champions, but that also is going to convert into favor. And if you're starting off, favor you need, because favor then not only makes the next run easier, but you can also then convert it into blessings. So he makes this nice early synergy for new players. So how does he exactly work? Everything kind of comes off of things start with his base attack, Necrotic Touch. So when he attacks a random enemy with his maul, he adds a plague if possible. Based off his Draconic Plagues. So he basically applies a random plague to enemies, and if it already has one, it's going to apply one of his others. One is called Pilfer. This is what drops the gold. One is called Pain, which makes them take more damage. And one is called Traitor, which means that when you hit that enemy is going to burst out with kind of AoE damage, doing more damage than what you did to it to everything around it. Hence being a traitor. Enemies spawn with this. They have a chance to spawn with it, and then Krull can apply it via his attacks. So, there's a couple different ways that can work. When it first starts off, you can only increase the power. It'll cap at 10 stacks. So if we look down here, that means that at this base number I'm looking at, it's going to be different for everybody because this is based off some items. It would be 18.72% per more gold per stack, but with 10, if it caps out when it maxes out at 10, that means it's going to be 187% more gold. This is going to go up over time as I level them. And again, it has some item support. The Pilfer and the Pain, which are the super big ones, they're going to be supported by items. So that's going to be good for you. But then, at level 100, so pretty quickly, Krull gets the thing that then makes all the numbers go a little wild. And that's Virulent Strain. So when an enemy with a plague dies, there's a chance that its plague will transfer to another enemy. It's possible for an enemy to gain multiple copies of the same plague when this occurs, which will stack multiplicatively. So this allows things to go from 10 up to 20, and then potentially up to 30, and then potentially up to 40. This number normally starts off pretty low. I've got some feats in here that are boosting it up here. And that's important to note. Krull, while his gear does support him well in the facts that he does have 2 that apply to his plagues, ultimately Krull can be used what we call kind of naked. So even if you're not picking him up in the Champs of Renown pack, but you pick him up in a Time Gate, he can do his thing without a lot of gold investment and also without a lot of item investment. But the items are just going to make him better. But what he really wants is these feats. Right, and you get one of them to start, Venomous Touch, but then increased toxicity is going to come out of regular gold chests. So not his gold chest, but regular gold chests that you open. That's kind of the big hunt for people, is they're trying to get this one, because that's the big one. So early on, you'll probably see maybe 10. You'll definitely see 10 stacks all the time, but you'll see like maybe 20, rarely a 30 stack, and you probably won't see 40 that often until you get that second feat. And then you'll start seeing 10 and 20 regularly, and then 30, and then occasionally a 40. And you can manipulate things to see 40 more often. So Virulent Strain is really kind of, you get going right away with Krull at 50, which doesn't take a lot of gold. So you can level him up to his base power pretty quickly. This is important when looking at new players. And then Virulent Strain at 100. At that point, I mean, you don't even have a large gold investment in him, and he's already doing a lot of work for you. Anything above that is basically icing on the cake. You're gonna get more and more bonuses. His specializations, Pilfer, Pain, and Traitor, so he's gonna let you focus on, one of those things, one of the plagues, based off what you want. Do you want more gold? Do you want more damage? Do you want more AoE damage? People can be subjective about what they want out of Krull, but if you're a newer player, you're going to want the gold. It's just, again, if you're picking up Krull, he's going to throw out a lot of damage boosts for you. He's going to do a lot of good things for you, but at the end of the day, you want him to get you lots and lots of gold. That's the trade-off you're making if you're using him instead of someone who is going to do, comparative damage to him and maybe a little more like... that other champion isn't going to give you all of this gold. You want that flood of gold. He'd also have an Archon's Army ability because he is part of the Dark Order, which is Archon, Krull, and Torergar. Archon's Army and the Master's Call, these are specifically to be working with like evil champions and Archon specifically. They're not really the focus of his kit. It's something to keep in mind if you're going to use a Dark Order grouping. Archon's Army increases the damage of all evil champions in the formation, but it's reduced for each good champion in the formation. So this is like, you're going to build a pure evil group, then you worry about this. Otherwise, people don't necessarily build around that. And the Master's Call, Krull increases the damage of Archon the Cruel, and reduces it for each slot away from Krull. Archon is. Again, it's not necessarily what you build him around. Increase the Dark Order synergy. This is his group affiliation synergy. Increase the effect of Archon's army for each Dark Order member adjacent to Krull. So again, they're adding a lot of things in here that matter if you're going to do like a full evil with Archon type of thing. So if you're building that out thematically, you want to keep those in mind. But general purpose use, you're really just, it's all about the plague and virulent strain, which means Krull can be anywhere in the formation except as a tank. You don't have to worry about adjacencies. You just need to worry about, you don't want to put him near anyone that's going to slow down his base attack speed. That's it, because he needs to be out whacking people in the head with his maul repeatedly, as often as possible. In fact, if you can speed up his attack speed, that'd be great. That'd make everybody happy. Yeah. So that's him. The other big thing, his feats, again, really, I'd go over the others, but it really just comes down to Venom. These two. You really just want these two. If you can't do these two, he has pain. He's got some gold. So if you're specifically, and pilfer. Once you get to the point where you're like, he's kind of a big deal still in Azaka farming. If you're gonna do that, then you know, after you set everything up and you go to farm, you can swap in. Whether they work or not is up for debate at that point, but it is an option. But the other main thing to know for him is his ultimate. Corrupted Ghouls, still one of the more powerful ultimates in the game for its ability to chew through some annoying bosses. Basically, Krull summons 4 Corrupted Ghouls that rush toward the nearest enemy and explode. What it doesn't explain, and what it explains down here, is that when they endue, it damages all nearby enemies and it leaves behind pools of necrotic goo that last for 30 seconds. That goo does damage every second, basically. So you're getting 4 of those pools if they all fire off and hit one thing, which I mean we can throw out here. That's what they look like. They're going to leave just this big pool, but it's like those are 4 separate pools, and each of those pools is going to do ticks of damage. If you fire this off to a boss that is armored and you have the bud to take off armor chunks with those pools, it's going to just decimate that boss. This works well on Valindra. Yeah. From Asoriel's Resolve, which is the Dragon Bait unlock variant. This ability can take off 3 to 4 of her resurrections. It also works very well on bosses that are just hit-based. So they have those little hit-based segments where it only needs to do 1 point of damage, but it needs to do that over and over and over again. If you could fire this off and hit one of those, it's just going to decimate it. So keep that in mind. It is very strong in those regards. The next champion up, we have Melf. I already leveled Melf up. So we will look at and I've got Melf in his elf skin. Now this is actually interesting. I got to stop and talk about this for a minute. Krampus Krull, 2 years ago, was the holiday giveaway skin for Krull. Melf Elf was the holiday giveaway skin this year. So this is what Melf looks like normally. So it's kind of funny that the first 2 we're talking about are actually both holiday skin recipients. So Melf should be fairly familiar, I think, to anyone who has played D&D. Melf has a bunch of spells named after him. That's because Melf was the character of Luke Gygax, Gary Gygax's son. So, you know, lots of history there. We'll go through. Melf is a support champion by tag, but speed champion by usage. Lots of abilities that are going to help out. Well, not lots of abilities. One major ability that's going to help you zip through things pretty quickly. He has a core in a lot of the speed formations, but can still be a decent support as well. If we look right here, the base ability, base attack, he's going to leap out and attack the nearest enemy with his spear. If he has any minute meteors active, he fires one at a random enemy as well. Minute meteors pop up as his ultimate right here. He summons 6 and they float around his head. We'll just get that going. Boom, boom, boom. You can see him rotating. Here, let me move him up. And if he attacks and his attack actually hits an enemy, which everything is dying to, to click. So let me move this off. Then one will burst on that enemy. There we go. And now he's losing some, you see. Pretty low cooldown ultimate. You can keep it up fairly often. And it just does a nice little bonus AoE damage. So right out the gate, his first ability, Adaptive Support Spell. Basically, increasing champions adjacent to him by a decent amount. This is also obviously modified by upgrades through his levels and his items. If another elf is in the party, the effect goes up. So he has some effects that have this kind of play with them. That doesn't necessarily mean you have to do them that way, but you're going to get some bonuses. Effect range this is the big one though. Effect range is increased by 2 if Melf is not in the frontmost or rearmost columns. And then effect is increased again by 10% for each unique race in the formation. So some of these you're going to want to build around more than others, and the big one to build around is his effect range increase. So if I were to put him all the way back here, his effect range is only going to be right here, up to crawl and this other thing. But if I just move him up one, now suddenly it's going to affect everyone up to here. If I put him in the middle, it's literally going to affect everyone in the party. So, keeping in mind where you're placing people, when it comes to Melf, where you're placing him specifically, you're going to be able to get this buff onto kind of a larger variety of places if you keep him out of either the front or the back. Obviously, he's not going to be great in the front. He's not a tank. But so just keep him out of the back. Melf's Righteous Determination. Melf knows exactly what evil is. Does he, though? Whenever an enemy spawns, it has a 50% chance of being deemed evil. Enemies that are deemed evil take more damage from ultimate attacks. So this is an interesting ability because we don't see a lot of this where it's like, well, ultimate's only like this boosts ultimate damage, but that can be a big deal. If it's a lot of people know, there are times in this game when you get to a point where ultimates are what are clearing things out. There's kind of a power curve involved in that, but at that point in time, if you're using Melf and he's marking these things as evil, then you could be taking even more damage. And that's what you're seeing here with these little occasional red skulls. This is his mark. He has deemed this as evil. So as you notice, it's not going to be everything. It's just going to be, flip of a coin. Who's going to get it? But then we get to Melf's Speedy Supplement. This is, honestly, I think most people are using Melf for speed. He is a fantastic speed champion. If you have his item support, he needs his items and his item levels to really take off. So Melf Speedy Supplement, Melf provides a random speed up buff. The buff provided changes after every 50th area, and it can be one of the following 3. Chance to spawn additional enemies, increased enemy spawn speed, and a chance of increased quest drop. So we've heard these things before in the game, or I hope you have. Chance to spawn additional enemies is something that is part of Minsk's kit, but at a very low percentage. Melf's obviously boosts this up greatly. And again, it's based off numbers. So as you see, these numbers are higher on my screen than 100%. What does that mean? That means that if you're below 100%, it's a chance to spawn an additional enemy. If you're over 100%, it's a chance to spawn 2 additional enemies. I'm over 300%, so that should be a chance to spawn 4 additional enemies. And you basically, that's fantastic. That's what makes you clear things quicker. You would think spawning more enemies would clear things slower, but when you have to complete, get a certain number of kills in an area, if you could spawn more enemies, that means, and you're killing them instantly or near instantly, that means you're going to progress faster. You're not waiting for them to spawn again. Increased enemy spawn speed we've seen on Deacon. That's Deacon's speed up ability. This basically increases the amount of time it takes for them to appear on the screen and get to the point on the screen where they die instantly from click damage. So as you see, they get about there and they start dying from click damage. It would speed up that movement. It doesn't necessarily make them spawn faster. It makes them get to the death spot quicker. And then the final one is chance of an increased quest drop. So If the completion requirement, say this one said collect some stone claws, so 25 of those. So if we have this and it's the one that's triggering, it's going to have a chance to drop multiple of those at once. And thus, again, move you faster through zones. Now, this is, as it said, it's going to change every 50 areas. Right now, we're getting enemies awarding double quest progress, right? So it is going to vary. You do have to kind of, you just have to accept that it's going to change all the time. It's never going to be one, or it's never going to stay one of these, unless you get the random RNG, and that's actually his achievement is based around that. You know, if you're really lucky, you can get multiple in a row, but like the same thing multiple times in a row. It's not gonna force rotate, is what I'm saying. And let's see. Oh, we'll because I had already leveled him up. Let's go ahead and pop a potion of specialization so we can see his specialization choices again. Bonus adaptation, extra supplements, and absolute righteousness. So the first one is general support usage, because that's going to be his adaptive support spell buff. Extra supplements is going to be his speed choice. So if you're really trying to focus on speed, and more speed, you're going to choose extra supplements. Absolute righteousness is if you're really going all in on that whole enemies take more damage from ultimates if they're marked shenanigans, right? I tend to just go supplements or speedy supplements, because I'm usually using him just for the speed. And then Melf's adaptive support spell. So this increases the effect of augmented support spell, of his adaptive support spell by 50% on the non-dominant gender in the formation. So again, he's got rules about how you're building your party. Increases the effect of adaptive support by 50% for each slot away a champion is from Melf. So this means, whereas before he wanted to be adjacent, now you want him not adjacent, you want him a couple away, right? So this all kind of builds together if you're paying attention to it. And then it's going to tell you which one is currently non-dominant so that you know who you're getting a bonus on. But again, these are smaller bonuses, so you don't have to force yourself to build around this. But if you can, like if it just fits what you're doing currently, then that's going to give you a nice bonus. So you want to keep them in mind. He gets the usual support type stuff, so all champs damage. And then some specific things around his adaptive support spell or speedy supplement. So we're boosting again the speed with his feats. And if you wanted, there's a righteous determination boost that can be purchased as well. So that's Melf. Third up, Havilar. We'll throw Havi up here in the front. I don't have a skin for Havilar. Is there a skin? I guess there isn't a skin for Havilar. We need a skin for Havilar. So Havilar is a tank support character. Her twin sister is in the game. That's Farida, right over here. Havilar is also a speed champion in some cases, and we'll talk about that. So Havilar has a glaive. We love the glaive. She cleaves the closest enemy with her glaive, hitting all nearby enemies, so it is a bit of an AoE. Her ultimate is worth talking about right away, because her ultimate basically you get immediately. That is the first update that you're going to get. Summon imps. Havilar canonically is one of like the chosen of Asmodeus. She doesn't necessarily want to be, but she is. So she gets the ability to summon these imps to her side. She's going to get two. The one on the top is always going to come out. There's a rotation of, there are 4 total, and there's a rotation of 3 that are going to do different effects, and we'll talk about all of those. But the one on the top is always going to be here. The one on the bottom is the one that's going to rotate in and out. So the first usage of her ultimate, she is a very active champion in this way, if you want to manipulate her. The first usage of the ultimate causes that second imp to jump out and blow itself up on an enemy. And what happens then is that there's going to be a countdown, and then this one's going to leave. But when that explosion happens, there is an AoE burst of damage, but there's also a slow effect applied if that enemy had lived. That slow effect can stack. So if you go through summoning, see, now we have a different imp. If you go through summoning and destroying repeatedly, you can slow an enemy currently until they decide they don't want it to do this anymore, to the point where it just stops moving completely and is frozen in place. But you rotate through. There it ran and exploded. Kind of went invisible and then jumped and exploded, but it happened still. So it counts. And we'll watch this rotation go away again, and then we'll get the third one out in a moment. But her ultimate basically is going to manipulate through these different various imps, and those imps are going to cause different things to happen. So which imp you have out at any given time actually matters if you want to micro play Havilar. If you don't want to micro play Havilar, then you just set it on the one that you like the most for whatever you're doing, and you leave it. And that's that. So, first up, her core ability that's going to be manipulated by all of this stuff is Leadership Summit. Havilar increases the damage of all champions in the 2 columns behind her. This ability is augmented by whichever imps are currently assisting her. So, we're going to go down. Infernal Fortitude is her just generic tanking ability, so that's the health share ability, and this is her kind of her buff. But if you'll notice, 2 columns behind her, that means, you know, she doesn't necessarily have to be tanking, which is why she's tanking support for that to basically apply. Fiendish Resolve is one of the effects with her imps out. So when any fiend is in the area, Havilar focuses less on her own attacks and more on buffing the party. Her base attack cooldown is doubled, but the effective Leadership Summit is increased by 100%. So this is just full-on focusing on buffing mode. And then Battle Master is going to be effective as well. Each time Havilar attacks, she increases the damage of all champions for each enemies she hits up to a max of 20 stacks. The effects last for all of Glaive Thrust's base cooldown. Right? And then we'll talk about the imps here in a moment. And then her specialization. Gotta repop it. Speedy Sacrifice. So this, if you're really doing that manipulation thing, blowing up stuff with her imps, you're going to do this because it reduces the cooldown by 10 seconds. It starts off at 20 after you've blown one up. So this basically cuts it in half. Lets you manipulate faster. Or just Mastery Battle, which tends to be the general use scenario. We're going to go with that one. Give me 1 second. Okay. Now, what do the imps do? So to find out what the imps do, you got to go over here. The Formation Buffs tabs. So as we see, Leadership Summit. And it's going to tell you right away, right now out are Mott and Dembo. Mott is the one that is always out. So he increases the effect of Leadership Summit by 400% on Tiefling champions. Dembo increases the effect of Leadership Summit just generically by 200%. Now this is under Leadership Summit. Now if we come down to Fiendish Resolve, we get another set of effects based off the imps, right? So Mott increases the effect of Leadership Summit by 25% for each fiend enemy. So if there's a big stack on the screen, it's going to go up for each one. Dembo causes fiend enemies to drop 2 quest items at once or count for 2 kills at once. This is the speed effect for Havilar. So just like with Melf, Melf just makes enemies, it gives a chance for enemies to drop or count extra quest progress. Well, Havilar does as well, but specifically for fiends. And that's it. You can see the count for Battle Master. Now we're going to rotate out. Probably should have done the fast one just so that we could do this quicker, but realism. Realism. I really should have. It's okay. Gives me some time to sip some orange juice. All right. Second imp. We still get Mott, but now we have Allah. Increases the effective Leadership Summit by 50% for each enemy attacking Havilar. So if you are dealing with that aforementioned just huge stack of enemies, lots of stuff on the screen, then you would want Allah out, right? Because before you're just getting a flat like 200% bonus from Dembo. That's like 4 enemies. So if you have more than 4 enemies ramped up on Gaarawarr, then switching over here is going to give you more damage. And then with Fiendish Resolve, all of then increases ultimate damage against Fiend enemies by 100%. So again, kind of like with Melf, but this is 100% against all Fiends. But again, Fiends only, because they just, Gaarawarr canonically doesn't like Fiends. So that's how it's going to play out in the game as well. And then we are going to rotate through again. And once you kind of keep an idea and you get an idea of the flow, you don't necessarily have to, rotate through. You'll remember, oh, okay, this is who does this. This is who I want out for that. Most people just hit it once and forget it, and they go for the speed against Fiends. But when you start getting, if you're keeping her in and using her for actual boss fights and for clearing levels, you want to rotate to ones that are specific. So again, Leadership Summit, in this case, we can still keep Mott, but now we have Bosch, increases the effect of Leadership Summit by 400% if there are enemy or boss and rage stacks active. So this is the boss stage one, because remember before it was based off the number of Fiends active on the screen. Well, you're not going to have a lot on a boss stage, and you may clear off all the trash mobs, and you may just be fighting the boss. So then you want to rotate to this to get your 400, right? That's the maximum boost you're going to get for this. And you want to have it against a boss. And then Gaarawarr takes 50% less damage, and her heroic sacrifice damage is increased by 200%. So again, this is going to help out a little bit on a boss level. Not a huge amount, because boss's damage is going to ramp up quite quickly, but taking less damage is nice. So that's the full rotation. If we come back around, we're just going to go back to Mott and Dumbo again. And I will bring those out in a moment. But with her feats, a lot of times you're going to throw in just the standard tanking stuff, which is tough and resilient. That's the health. She does have some defensive duelist. Just the five more enemies for overwhelm. Not a lot. She doesn't have the 10. But then you can just go straight into Leadership Summit and all champs damage if you're just looking for the damage boosts, and she's tanking just fine. So you get a good, you get some good options to manipulate how she's going to work in that regard. I got you, Crow. I got you. Can't resist. Can't resist. And that brings us to Nova, which we're going to come over here. The Champions of Renown pack year 3 is unique of the 3 packs in that 2 of the champions are actually in the same slot, but they do different things, and they're good for different reasons, and they're good for especially if you're doing multi-party or if you need variants done. With Nova, you get tanking and support. The other option is Averin in this slot. He's pure support, so they're going to give you some, multiple options here. Nova is a champion we've covered before on this show when we did our Gaarawarr's Guide to the Heroes of Erois. She's one of the Heroes of Erois, but we will touch on her again. So she jumps out, slices through the nearest enemy with Tiangong as her base attack. Let's level her up a bit. She is a champion you want in as close to level 1 as possible because of this initial ability. So Nova is intrinsically curious about the world around her, and she's a bit of, it doesn't say this, but I'm just going to say it, she's a bit of a serial killer, collecting trophies. So when monsters are killed, she collects a trophy from it. Trophies augment her abilities, but reset every run. So bosses always drop brains, and monsters always drop hearts. Well, no. Monsters always drop hearts if she kills them. That's where I was going with that. 10% chance to drop off, anybody else killing. Hearts can be farmed. You can sit on this level. We can sit here and collect hearts all day and all night. However, the bosses will only drop the brains on the first time you pass that boss level, which is why you want her in as soon as possible, because there are a limited number of boss brains available. They were a limited edition run, apparently. And they are the biggest bonus to everything that's going to key off of this, so you want as many of them as possible. So Discovery, she increases the damage of the 5 champions in the formation with the highest intelligence score. This is buffed by Hearts and Minds, as we like to call it. So she very much wants intelligent champions to be your DPS. She has a way to manipulate this in one of her specializations. So it's a larger number of champions that she affects. But you have to keep that in mind, because if you're using a real dumb DPS, Nova's not for you, probably. You might be able to make it work with her spec choice, but maybe not. We'll talk about that. Protective Field, this is the health share, like most tanks get. Close Encounter, Nova increases the effective discovery by an amount for each enemy attacking her, and each point of enemy boss enrage stacking additively and then applying multiplicative. So this is the ramping damage buff that you get with a lot of tanks. Not all, but a lot. So the more things that are sitting on her, the more she's going to buff everybody else. And then she gets a slow ability. Her attacks slow the movements of enemies she damages by 50%. And enemies that are slowed deal half damage to Nova. So this is her kind of a, damage reduction ability to herself. It only works on her, though. So in a multi-tank formation, you'll get the benefit of attacking things and slowing and having it take longer to get to the other tank, but it's not going to give any damage reduction to the other tank. And then her spec choices are, you're either going to apply, instead of to the top 5 champions, you can go to the top 8. So again, if you have a real dumb champion, you got to make sure they're at least going to be in the top 8 if you're going to use mass appeal. If they're already in the top 5, though, just go journaling. And don't worry about it. Just take that bonus, because you've already got it applying to who you need. And if you run a full Heroes of Erois formation, we'll see here in a moment, it doesn't even matter, because you're going to be using Lucius's DPS, and he automatically will get the effect and not count towards that top 5 total. So, failsafe. When Nova becomes overwhelmed, Tiangong creates a protective barrier around Nova, giving her 250 points of temporary HP and stunning her until the shield is broken or she is no longer overwhelmed. This can only trigger once per area, and the amount is increased based off each of the monster brains she's collected. This isn't the greatest shielding ability. Don't rely on it. It's a minor blip on the radar at that point. Even if you've run 800, 900 areas with her, this doesn't get as big as a self-shield would from someone like Ayla or Tyrell, unfortunately. And theirs apply over and over again, and hers only applies the one time. So it was an interesting idea. I don't know when it'll ever get a payout. So don't rely on it. Cosmic Resonance. This is the ability I was talking about. All the Heroes of Erois are automatically buffed by Discovery and are not included in the calculations for the highest int score. So that's just a nice little bonus. And then they have their Erois Synergy, where she contributes to the pool per the number of champions buffed up by Discovery. And then it buffs, Discovery is then buffed by 25% of the pool. So, she feeds into herself there, which is good. Her ultimate basically makes her float, or her sword floats, she floats, and then it pulses out this energy 3 times, hitting everything on the screen. It's pretty neat. I like it. I like multi-hit ultimates. And that's Nova. So we're going to swap out, because the other one is in the same slot, and that's Avron. Hey, Avron's got a skin. Avron's got multiple skins. I don't have the Artificer one, but it's real neat. It's kind of like Iron Man. A little Iron Man action. So Avron here, he likes to be in the middle of all things. Everything that's going on, but also your formation. He likes to be surrounded by things. We'll talk about this. Avron's still probably one of the top buffers in the game, if not the top buffer in the game. He's going to be up there. He's going to be a real good choice for you. Not going to lie, his base attack doesn't really matter. But he tosses 3 spectral shards at random enemies. 1 does damage, 1 stuns, and 1 is fake and only briefly staggers the enemy. I mean, that's neat, but you're not really bringing him in for his base attack. What you are bringing him in for is his mirror image. Avron crafts mirror image every 15 seconds. The image lasts for 30 seconds and buffs its target depending on their tags. So this is where you have to know what roles they are, right? You don't really have to pay attention to that, but the key to know is that if they have multiple tags, they get each of these bonuses. So this is great when you have people who aren't just a pure role. So like we had before, Nova tanking and support, or you have someone like Zorbu who is DPS and support. Like they're going to get both of these. So the DPS, if they have the DPS tag, it increases the champion's damage specifically for them. And then if they have the support tag, it increases the damage of all champions. And then if they have a tanking tag, it increases all incoming healing to that champion. So having a DPS who is both DPS and support means they get both of these. And the more then support tags that you fire this off on, the better, because they're going to provide damage buffs to everyone, right? You can see how this could be a good thing. His specialization choices build off this. So his mirrors could go, initially they just kind of randomly go anywhere. But once you pick a focus, they will prefer to go to whatever of these choices you make. So you want to look at what your DPS is, like what their alignment is, and choose them. So, you know, if they're good, you choose good. And then what that means is when he goes to fire off his mirror image, it's going to try to target a good champion first. If there's one available, it will go to it. If all good champions already have a mirror image, then it will then kick out one to someone else randomly. Now, initially, it only starts with the 2 mirror images. If we get to the second specialization choice, though, you can either make with Empowered, you can make the mirror effects bigger. Or, with Sturdy Mirrors, you can make the duration last longer. This is the one you want. Because by making it last 60 seconds, that means he can have up to 4 out at a time. And all 4 of those, applying and giving those bonuses if they're hitting, say, support champions, is going to be way better than mirror image. The only time you might want empowered mirrors would be like if you were running a full tank formation and they didn't have the support tags. It would be real odd. It would be real odd for you to ever run empowered mirrors. So you want to go sturdy. You want to get out as many mirrors as possible, because that's where all of the power in Avon lies. Now, if we look back in here now that we've picked this, once we get up a little higher, Seeing Double increases the damage of all champions for each champion adjacent to Avon. This is why he likes to be in the middle of a group. So in the Sword Coast, ideally he would be surrounded by 6 people. That would give him, 50% multiplicative for all 6, right? The base amount is increased by 50% for each active mirror effect on the adjacent champions. So if you can set it up so that not only is he surrounded by 4 to 6 champions, but that those mirror images are always going to land on those 4 to 6 champions that are surrounding him, then that makes everything even stronger. This is where formation building is important. You want to keep that in mind. You're going to get a lot more power out of Avon if you can surround him by 4 champions that are going to get his mirror image. And that's it. He's real straightforward. It's all about the mirrors. Obviously, you see I've got feats in here that are buffing mirror image and Seeing Double, because that's the major stuff. If you don't have those, he does have the generic all champs damage. But really, I need this one. I need that one. This comes with that skin pack. So this skin right here, Artificer Avon, comes with, if you buy it, comes with this 2-headed coin. Otherwise, you have to pay 50,000 gems, right? So that's them. That's the Heroes of Erois. Or no, that's not. What am I saying? That's the Champions of Renown Year 3. I know what week it is, folks. I swear. So yeah. Champions of Renown. All-Star Pack Year 3. Those are the 5 champions. We can't get them all out on the screen at once because one of them shares a slot. There's the Nova. But that's them. So, they all work together fairly well. You can use Havilar and Nova in a 2-tank formation with Krull and Melf as a support and build out the rest of your formation. You can run Havilar and Melf and Avon as support with Krull doing the debuffs. Like Krull, Krull and Averin, once upon a time, were basically the top two. Now Krull is down a little bit, but you're still getting a major debuffer and a major buffer out of this pack, and you're getting a couple tank options and a super speedy speedster who also does some supporting on the side. Let's keep that in mind. Again, boop, 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 right there. Plus, again, lots of shiny, lots of gear, and a real cool. I really like that skin. It's super neat. Definitely a solid value for newer players. If as a newer player, you know you want to invest some money into the game and that fits your budget, that is a great value. Everyone's going to argue about whether it's the value they stayed on there, but normally you'd be looking at least $100 just for the chests and the champions, and then the skin gets thrown in. So definitely at the 55, it is a great value if you need to pick up all 5 of those champions. Once it starts, if you've already owned some of them, then obviously it becomes something you've got to figure out if it's worth it or not. A little less worth it for veterans because we already have all these champions, and this is why I don't own that pack. As bad as I want that skin, I already own all those champions. I already have them all in full epics, so it's difficult for me to pull that trigger. But they do make great packs for newer players. I'm like, when did I use this? But I used it earlier. Oh, I didn't show Averin's ultimate. It's pretty neat. It's not gonna. We're only going to see a partial effect because everything is dying. So let me try to pull everybody else out of here, so we can let some enemies build up on the screen. Maybe. Oh, he does throw 3 attacks at a time though. Okay. Insignificance. Dun dun dun. Everything gets super small and he gets super big, and then he runs out. He does like an AoE attack to everything on the screen, and then he jumps out and kicks things in the head until it wears off. Pretty hilarious. I love it. Yep, and then everything goes back to normal size. It even shrinks bosses. Not all bosses. Not all bosses. Hashtag not all bosses. But yeah, it's fun. It's super fun. All right, let's get him some help back out here because this isn't going to be great for him. Oh, just got there in time. Come on. There we go. All right. Now they can move along. All right, so I am going to take a short break real quick. I'm going to drink some water, and then we're going to do the Q&A. I will tackle questions that come about the Champions of Renown Year 3 first, and then just open Q&A after that. So I will be back momentarily, everybody. And we're back. Hello, everybody. We're going to start, let's go all the way back. I think we were talking about this when this came in. They said, can't see that in the shop. There's more pages. I mean, you could keep clicking. But if it doesn't appear in your shop anywhere, either A, you already bought it, or received it as a reward for something. Sometimes they give these away as stream rewards. Or B, there's a bug of some kind, and you can submit a support ticket to find out which is the case. But any of the packs should be under the packs tab, and you should be able to find it in here somewhere. I don't know how the order of these is determined, like which ones you see first. So I don't know how many you might have to go back to find. How does Krull compare to Makos for increasing gold as a new player? So Makos' gold feature requires that he actually gets the kill. So if you're not using Makos as your DPS, then you're not necessarily getting a lot of gold. Whereas Krull, anyone can get the kill. Krull just marks them with the pain or with the pilfer, and whoever cleans it up, including click damage, benefits. And then once you get Azaka and you start Azaka farming, well, with Azaka you don't want to kill anything, so Krull just jumps, leaps, and bounds ahead. Yeah. But here's the thing. I've said this before, I'll say it again. ¿Por qué no los dos? Use Krull and Makos. Let Krull build up pilfer stacks and then pop them with Makos' ultimate. And then go swim in your gold pool. What does each of the imps do? We went over that. So I think that was a timely question back then. It is tied, though, if there are fiends, isn't it? I don't know what that question means, Urhamel. Even in relation to Havilar. So if you could clarify, then Jay can maybe grab the clarification for me. Question, does Havilar's spec choice do anything to her ult besides just changing from 20 seconds to 10 seconds? Nope. It just makes it rotate faster. So if you're all about the manipulation and you want to have that on-demand change, or if you just want to spam that slow all the time, then you go with that one. Like I said, most of the time you're using the other one, because usually you just want, if you're just using her for her damage buffs, then, and you're not trying to manipulate things, especially, well, in the speed it doesn't matter, but yeah, if you're just trying to get straight up damages and you're not necessarily manipulating, like you're just picking one setup and then you're just going to let it push, the other spec choice is better. Her boost to speed is related to whether there are fiends in the area or not. Yes. There is no speed boost without fiends. So we're on Mad Wizard. Mad Wizard has fiends, so she gets that speed boost kicks in on some areas. It's going to kick in a lot of Descent into Avernus, right? But she is a very specific use case speed champion. But since most people are farming Mad Wizard for gems, then most of the time it's going to come in handy. Like look at all the collectibles that dropped up here off like one enemy, right? Like we got it all just in like 2 kills. I guess this will probably highlight how quickly things can move forward on fiend levels for, well, on the worst case. This can't be changed. You just have to kill enough of them to get the journal to drop. But yeah, it'll show up in a moment. Does Nova pick up boss brains when the boss area is skipped by Briv? I believe now. I believe that got changed, and now she does. I believe they threw the brain in the bag. So basically, when Briv skips a boss area, anything in the bag you get to keep, and I think they added that? Wow, I wouldn't be able to find it. Probably in the change log. But I remember that being a problem, and people didn't want to use Briv with Nova because of it. And then I swear I remember reading that they fixed that. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to. If this was searchable, maybe. But I don't even know it goes back far enough. Because now it stops. I'm seeing yes, Nova does get brains. That's my recollection, is that yes, she now gets the brains. Since when is a brain a firement? I don't know. Maybe a firement dropped at the same time a brain did. When you were talking about Averin, you said tank champions without the support champion or tag. Are there champs like that in the game? Yeah. Archon is a DPS / tank. But even then, he would be getting the DPS boost. That was mainly a reference to the fact that on a recent Idle Insights, someone asked if we would ever get a pure tank character. And they were like, is that something you'd want? And some people said yes. And so you never know what might happen in the future. So if you end up with pure roles, you got to keep that in mind. And it looks like... comment, Averin Ultimate should be called Boot to the Head. I mean, insignificance makes sense. Because he makes himself real big and everybody else real small. And then, they're insignificant, right? That's... Yeah. So we're going to go back to just general questions. So if people have general questions, you throw them in chat. That was all of that we had for the specific ones. Did you cover Nova's feats? I may have missed that. We can go back and talk about Nova's feats. They're basically just the specific... there we go. You get the specific tanking stuff and support stuff because she gets all champs and the health. But then you get, stuff specifically related. I have Close Encounter in here, but there's Discovery and Close Encounter stuff. So you can pick up whatever is going to be, better for you. I did Close Encounter for the ramping buff bonus. That's why it's at 140% instead of 100%. But that was in a specific scenario where I was using her and having things stack up on her. So, with feats, you always kind of want to set them up for the run you're on. Sometimes there are just two that you're always going to use if you have them. But in some cases, there are going to be scenarios where you need to make adjustments, especially based off how your formation is set up. Smirker Prime. I've gotten a shiny for an item when it was blue. I've not seen it upgrade to purple yet. Despite me playing for several months and I had item upgraded to shiny when doing the initial quest and got a shiny potion. Is it bad luck that the item hasn't upgraded yet? Yeah. It's not, nothing locks into blue. I don't understand how you would go several months. I feel like you're not buying and opening gold chests. So Jarlaxle's gear drops out of generic gold chests like these. And it may just be that you're in that hunt for epics. Like it can take a while to get full epic across all the core and evergreen champions, and it may be that you're just not opening as many of these as maybe you should. Maybe you're spending your gems on silver chests instead of on gold chests, or maybe you're buying familiars with them. I don't know, but you're at that point in your Idle Champions journey where you're working towards, one of your goals should be working towards full epics across all your core and evergreens. Eventually, that shiny blue will get an epic drop and it will become a shiny purple. Because that applies, the shiny and golden apply to the slot overall. If we look under the collections, you'll see these are all shiny because the little silver border wraps all the way around the slot itself, just as the gold wraps all the way around the slot itself. So it doesn't matter what rarity you have, though that gilding is going to apply forever and ever. Let's see. My counter on the whole Human for having each kobold on top for 100 air isn't removing regardless of which column I have them in. Is it bugged or does it just count it all at once after you've done 100 areas? No, you've got to move them around in one run. You've got to do it in the same run. This was if you don't see this text, you need to update your client. In a single adventure. So you need to be able to reach level 301 in one run. to even be able to attempt to get this achievement. So you have Human right here. Let's throw him in. So in Mad Wizard, these up here counts for. I did this yesterday on stream, so I know it works. Up here counts for the front. This is the middle, and then back here is the back. And you can tell how much range you get under the formation buffs. It'll tell you front 2 columns, middle column, back 2 columns. But you have to pay attention, and you have to let it run 100 like up here, and then 100 levels here, and then 100 levels here. All in one run. So, I know that was initially, it didn't say in a single run. And initially I took that to meant you just had to do 3 runs with 1 in each place, because that's how other achievements in the past for other champions worked. But then they updated it to say, no, it's got to all be in 1 run. So yeah, keep that in mind. If it's still not working, again, obviously the first thing to do is reset your client and then try it again, or whatever your app or whatever platform you're on. Reset it, let it update to whatever the newest build is, if there is a new build available, and then try it again. That's always troubleshooting step number 1. But then after that, if it's still not, if you're actively completing levels and you have put them into the proper places and it's not giving you credit, submit a ticket. When using automation in Mad Wizard, do you ever go past level 50 before resetting? Mine's set at 280, so I do. Your reset number is going to depend on a couple factors. One, first of all, do you have Shandy? Reply yes or check yes or no in the box. No, this isn't a note in class. Do you have Shandy? If you don't have Shandy, run to 31 and reset. Because the first 30 levels are the fastest levels in Mad Wizard. So if you don't have Shandy, you could just run to 30 and 31 and reset. 30, 31, either one. 30 is probably fine. If you have Shandy, then because of the way her speed mechanic works, it takes a little while to kick in. You want to use her for as long as possible to get the maximum efficiency out of her. So then you have to figure out, where is my click wall? Like, where is my insta-death wall? Like, where I'm clicking with these and things are dying instantly. None of these attacks matter. Everything, I can take all of these out. They're still going to die every bit as quickly. Right? Like when you're click killing it, you can tell where your click kill wall is over here, because whatever level you can get up to with your click damage just naturally is going to be kind of where your click wall is. But you have to test that in a run and figure it out. Right? So I know I can go well over 300. I set mine to 280 though, specifically because it's kind of set for patron challenges, because a lot of them you need to go 250 plus levels and then reset. And I don't want to spend a lot of wasted time going well over a goal that I need, well over 250, when I could just reset at 280 and then have it be done. So I set mine at 280. Some people set theirs way higher and then adjust it for patron challenges, maybe, or maybe they don't. I don't know, maybe they just don't care. I don't know. Everybody's got their own thing. But yeah, that's something you kind of got to figure out. Like, this is my normal speed formation now with Human. Now with 100% more Human. Yeah. All right. One moment. Okay. Doc 21008. I'm a new player. Who should I unlock with my first time gate? I assume you're talking a manual time gate. I kind of said, I still think Krull gives you not only a power boost, but also the gold boost. That's just really fantastic for a new player. Some people will argue that Ashara is now the better DPS in that slot, but as a new player, I think you're just fine using Crawl and Hitch, because Hitch you should have just, right when you start, you should just go over here to the main menu and click on newsletter and sign up and get Hitch right away. But I think Hitch or anyone other than Jarlaxle as DPS with Crawl just gives you all the gold, and that's fantastic as a new player, as a newer player. Otherwise, if you want to skip that and just jump straight into the speed, Deacon or Shandy. Grab Deacon or Shandy. They both have nice speed effects. I like Shandy's better, but Deacon is a slot 1, so you can get him in and start his effect sooner, whereas Shandy is all the way over here in slot 6, so you'll have to wait longer in your run to put her in, and that may not be efficient for you as a newer player. But Shandy's also a nice buffer. So is Deacon, technically. But they both work without items. So they don't need a lot of gear. If you pick them up at a time gate, you have to keep in mind, is this a very heavily gear-dependent champion? And Deacon and Shandy both provide their speed buffs without needing any gear. So one of those 3, depending on what you're looking for. Human rejection. I have a general question. What is the best use of Electrum chests? I have all epics on evergreens and at least all blues on my events, so I assume you do silver champ chests, then Electrum, then their gold chests. That's what I did on stream yesterday. I had a pool of Electrum chests from this week that I'd gotten from all the chest codes. I opened up all of Human's silver chests that I had earned so far first. And then I started opening up the Electrums because I was missing still some greens. I ended up getting a lot of blues, which was interesting. And then because I ended up having all greens and blues by the time I was done, I just went ahead and opened all my gold chests because my collection was then sorted. And so now I'm in, I have 2 epics and 4 blues on him so far. And my goal is to get 3 epics on the newest champion each run, so I'm pretty close to that. By the end of the event, I should have that, I would think. Oh, that reminds me. Actually, I want to get out of this. I now have 5,000 tokens. I can do the last variant. Yay! I went to do it on stream, and I didn't have enough tokens yesterday. So I'll do it right now. Hit him fast, hit him hard. Every time I see that, I'm like, hit him high, hit him high, hit him high, hit him high. You hit him low, hit him low, hit him low, hit him low. I love Space Jam. All right. They will do their thing. And hopefully, these are the Abyssal Chickens. I'm going to need some multi-attackers. So let's bring Farida in. To get me some multi-attack to get rid of all of their shenanigans. Yeah, we'll just go straight up damage because that's going to be too far away. And we can bring in Briv. I don't know if he's got any haste stacks or not to be skipping anything, but if he does, that'd be nice. Ooh, yeah, actually Talon would be good. We'll get the... oh, he does have haste stacks. Yay! Yay me! We'll do Metalborn. And we'll bring Benwin in also. More multi-attacks. But Talon will be able to throw some of those scatter attacks. That's what I want. And just to hopefully slow some of those Abyssal Chickens down. And we'll bring in Avalar, because why not? It's not a super effective pushing formation, but I don't have to get very far. 175, and I have lots of favor, so it shouldn't be an issue. I should be able to overpower all of this formation. Bring those imps out just in case. I don't think there's any fiends here, but... Jason and Brian, I just want to say thank you for these relaxing, non-toxic streams. Such a great atmosphere. Hey, you're welcome. I mean, that's kind of the point of, my Friday and my Saturday shows is just information. Mars does the same thing on Wednesdays for Mars' Guiding Hand. Check that out. And then Margaret and Satine, same thing. Evergreen Champions, Wednesday mornings. So just information about the game, ask questions, get answers. All pretty solid. I have a question. Does Human's ability to increase progress rate increase to 3 per drop if the percent goes up? Yes. It scales, and apparently it scales better than Melf's even, so... yeah. Although raising both mathematically is the better choice. Like, you don't just focus on one and not the other because, you know, like you want... Mathematically, 2 times 2 is 4, but then if you do 2 times 8, that's 16. But if you were to split that up, then maybe it's like 4 times 4, that's also 16, but that would have taken less blacksmithing contracts. And it might be 4 times 5, which is 20, and like you know where I'm going. Like multiplying things together, it's better to raise both the numbers. Double checking, you do get credit for the levels of bread skips. Yeah, that's kind of what I thought for the brains. What are the best new player purchases with gems? Oh, GVA in chat. Exclamation point GVA. Mars and I collaborated on a guide called the Gems Visual Aid, which kind of helps you walk through the thought process on what to buy. As a brand new player, the very best thing to get right away is the Mage Hand, because it's right down here. I have the green version, but that is the Mage Hand. It's only 250 gems, which is literally like your first 2 adventures. Like you complete those, you should have close to 250. You should have 250 gems, probably. If not, do your 3rd one and then you'll have it. But then it's going to depend on factors, and that GVA, that visual aid, is going to explain those. Humans, please stand by. Bonus from Miyasa. Only affects champs next to who, but ability says adjacent to kobolds. Is this working as intended? Reduce the base attack cooldown of champions adjacent to the kobolds by 0.5 seconds. It's referring to Human as the kobolds. So yeah, they just have to be adjacent to Human. Why not Jarlaxle for DPS when looking for gold? Oh, no, you do want Jarlaxle for DPS when looking for gold. Well, no, you want Jarlaxle in. So here's the thing. Jarlaxle is like right out the gate, he's your starter DPS. Because he gives you both gold and damage, and you want to pick his gold spec. Always. Because the gold's just going to give you more gold, and that gives you more damage than his damage spec would ever give. So you want to go gold. The issue when I said you don't want to use Jarlaxle as DPS with Crawl doesn't mean that you don't use Jarlaxle in your formation early on. You still can, but you need a different DPS, and that's because of how Crawl works. So when Krull applies his plagues spawn, and then they build up. The plagues build up over time, right? Which means by the time they get to 10 stacks, they're going to be up here on your tanks. And Jarlaxle only attacks the things furthest away. So Jarlaxle's never going to kill the things that are going to give you the biggest bonus. So when you start using Krull, you need to use a DPS other than Jarlaxle, or you're wasting Krull. And that's why some people pick up Krull and they don't understand why their wall doesn't move. Well, they're probably still using Jarlaxle. So that's why you want to use like Hitch and Krull. That would be my go-to combination early on. Yeah. Do you recommend saving familiars for a new player? I have 2,000. I'm not sure it's a good idea to save for 10,000. 10,000 is a long way to go, Flint. So it's going to depend. Again, look at that guide, the GVA, the Gems Visual Aid. See where you are on that. If you are in the hunt, the long-term hunt for golden or for epics on your core and evergreen, if you're blue on all your core and evergreen champions, then you can probably start saving your gems to get up to 10,000. Probably. But if you're not all blue, you still want to keep opening gold chests. I am wicked. Other than opening a blacksmith scroll, is there a way to see champion items average level? Nope, that's it. That's the only way. Well, you can see your time, like anything that comes out of a time gate, you can see by opening a time gate, but you won't see your core and evergreen there. Hey, I just unlocked my multi-party. Should I just keep my gem farming in the front and slowly doing quests in the back? Or would you do gem farming in the back? No, you have it right the first time, Peacemaker. You want to, when you first get multi-party and Modron automation open, A lot of people think, oh, I'll just make my gem run in the back and I'll put my automation core back there and it'll do the thing and I can do stuff in the foreground. No, it's a little counterintuitive. You want to put your core in your active party, like this one that I'm looking at right now. This is where I want my brand new Modron core, because your Modron core levels based on the number of levels you complete. So it gets XP based on the number of levels you complete. So you want to level it up as quick as possible, and that means you put it in the group that's going to be completing the fastest levels the fastest, and that's always going to be your active party. Because your background party is only going to complete 1 level per minute at best. It would take forever to level up your core back there. So you want your active party to have your core, and ideally you want to just be gem farming, because you want to run a speed group and you want to just level that core up as fast as possible. And then, yeah, throw your progress, throw your quests that you're trying to complete into your background group. Is your progress going to slow down a bit, right? Because of that? Yes, it definitely will. You don't have to gem farm in your active party. You can still gem farm in the background party and then just manually reset it like you used to do before you had a Modron core, and just keep an eye on it and reset it every now and then. You'll still get more gems than you ever would have, and then you can do whatever you want in the active party. Just make sure your Modron core is in your active party so that it is getting the most levels feeding into it until it hits max, right? And then once it's a max, once it's at 15, then you could throw it in the background party, because you don't care if it's getting low, if it's going through the fastest levels or not. Is it only 1 chest per run for the free play? Yes. Is that weird chime noise I hear periodic from your stream or something else on my machine? I don't know, honestly. Because I have my headphones set up right now, like my little earbuds are set up as a monitor just so I can hear my own voice, but I'm not listening to my computer audio. Okay, it's coming from mine. I do not know. I will say I have heard an odd chime occasionally. I'm gonna mute Discord. I think it's coming from Discord. So here, tell me this. I just put Discord on Do Not Disturb. So if you don't hear it, when we get to the end of the stream, someone let me know if they heard it again or not. But technically, my Discord is in streamer mode and shouldn't be giving me any audio. But I think it still does. Something happened with the latest Discord update that screwed up their audio stuff, because nothing in my Discord should ever be pinging an audio cue outside of a direct message or something. And when you're in streamer mode on Discord, it should shut all those off too. So something's wrong. It sounds like something's wrong with Discord. But I put it on Do Not Disturb. Now it shouldn't happen. Silly Discord. Mr. Bish, hi Gaarawarr, thanks for doing this. You're welcome. Sorry for the noob question. I followed. No, we're here for all the questions. I followed your advice for getting Krull for gold support, Deacon for speed, and Zorbu for DPS. My question: what are the different categories to focus on, and how to prioritize? What should I be getting next? Oh, like at that point, like I said, Shandy's still a good speedster. Like picking up, like Shandy will help you rush through early levels, and then you use Krull when you suddenly need to push. Ayla as a tank, just fantastic. Probably what if I had to pick a, hashtag best tank in the game, I would say Ayla. The self-shielding is fantastic. It isn't reliant on an ultimate like Tyrell is. It only gets better with item levels. It doesn't require item levels. And it self-resets. Yeah, just the self-reset is huge. So Ayla is fantastic. So picking up Ayla if you don't have Ayla. But then it's just kind of building to kind of... I don't want to say building to your strengths, but more like shore up your weaknesses, right? Like build out your formation and make sure that you're whatever you may not have for situations, you then have. You're going to get to a point where really you're hunting for good swaps for variants that don't let you use your main people. And that's a big deal. So it's hard to say. It's subjective. Does Human's achievement have to be done on the same adventure? Yes. It now says that in the achievement. So update your client if it doesn't say this. If it doesn't say right here, a whole Human in a single adventure. These 4 words were added in a update after the initial one. So was Krell's Virulent Strain nerfed too? I very rarely get a stacks transfer now. I don't know. It was my understanding it was like his abilities and his items were getting. I guess that is an ability. It might have been too much initially. I haven't seen an issue, but I haven't necessarily hunted for an issue. Some people really look for problems, and I guess I'm not one of them. I notice if my gameplay changes, but I haven't noticed my gameplay really change a whole lot. How do you set up a formation to change automatically after a certain area? You don't. Yeah. You can't change a formation after a certain area. What you can do is, in automation, you can set a formation to load after you reset. After you could set an area goal for your adventure to reset on, and then it will automatically load in whatever formation you have set up to load in. But you can't auto set a formation to change at a certain level. You have to do that manually. Should Krell and Archon always be played together? No, and arguably the opposite. They should never be played together. That's just kind of I don't know what happened when they were designing the Dark Order, but they don't really play well together. Like Archon wants to usurp buffs. He wants people around him that have positional formation buffs. And Krell and Torgar don't have those, really. And then they give him synergies where they want Krell and Torgar to be right next to them, which kind of fits because then you feed the positional formation abilities into those. But you'd think that the Dark Order would really, like, ideally do everything it could to make Krell or make Archon better, and it doesn't really work. They just haven't. I don't know. So Krell's just, Krell can be used just fine on his own. He's not. This is what made him strong for so long, is he could be used with anyone. When you would think he would need to be used with Archon to really achieve his maximum potential, the reality is, nah, he's in with anyone. It's some kind of meta commentary on evil groups. I don't think they were trying to get meta. So I'm getting insane luck, or they've made it like this. I've gotten 10 gold chests out of 10 runs for Human. That's just it happens. The longer you play the game, the more of a chance you're going to get to have just an insane run of luck where you get all gold chests out of an event. I had it happen to me. I thought my account broke. I reported myself. Turns out, nope, just luck. Just luck. Thought Krell got a buff from Archon. Well, no. No. Oh, he's in the other. Here, we'll go look at Archon. There we go. So Archon will give out like a Dark Order synergy where he attacks for each other Dark Order member in the formation. But Rage of the Dragonborn is all about him. Usurp Power is all about him. Rising Anger increases damage of evil champions for each enemy attacking Archon, but Krell isn't. You don't care if his damage goes up. So yeah, no. Krull is just... Archon's just super selfish. Everything's about him. And this is Archon's skin. This is the Gladiator Archon. There's Hand of Vecna. We could go over that one. He's got the hand. Do I have the feet too? Did I buy that? I did. Okay, there we go. Yeah. Taking damage over time. Doesn't really matter on when he's in the background. I guess I probably shouldn't have it that way, but I've got Sisaspia healing him, so he lives long enough. He lives long enough for it not to matter. Yeah. And then I have my reset at 80, so there's never really going to be a chance that Archon's going to die. But that could potentially, if you're running him in a background party, you probably shouldn't have the Hand of Vecna on it. I should take that off. Hold on. Here. That's better. Because if your character, here's the thing, if your character dies while it's in a background party, your progress stops. So, don't do that. Since Artemis won't observe the Yesa buff from Human, will Archon usurp the buff? I haven't been able to test it. I haven't run those tests. I need to do that and update Archon and Artemis, like their guides on the subreddit. But I think what I had heard was that right now it's not doing it, which means it should be a bug because they definitely kind of read like positional form. Let's hop back over and look at them again. Because the way you got to figure out positional formation abilities is, does it kind of go to everyone or does it go to a specific place? Right? And when we're looking at Yasa, increase the damage of champions in the 2 columns in front of Human. This should be a positional formation ability. Right? So you should be able to put Archon 3 columns up and have him usurp it off of someone that was 2 columns up. But I've heard that isn't working, so that sounds like a bug. If we get clarification from CNE that it isn't, because they're classifying it as maybe it's all champs that are within 2 columns for some reason, which should still be a positional formation, then we'll know. But until then, yeah. Yep. So, yeah, sometimes a lot of that stuff sometimes has to be hooked up manually from the way they make it sound. I don't know. I don't do the back end. I forget how frequently do events run. Once a quarter? No, every 3 weeks. Yeah. When I started the game and I made my very first, the very first event came along, I was like, oh, awesome. This game has events. I wonder how often they'll do it because it was High Harvest Tide. So I was like, probably quarterly, right? They'll do it around, quarterly, and this one's High Harvest Tide. And then the event ended, and then 9 days later, a new one started, and I was like, oh, okay, this is every 3 weeks. Okay, well, maybe I should make guides for these, because that's a lot of information to deal with every 3 weeks. And here we are. Now I do a video series with guides. But yeah, every 3 weeks on a rotation. So it's, an event starts, it lasts for 12 days, and then you get 9 days of off time, and then an event starts again. Over and over and over. So that means you're getting 17 events a year, which means 17 new champions minimum, plus whatever evergreens they add. Did I do that math right? Yeah. So last year there were 19 champions that arrived in the game because there were the 17 event champions plus 2 evergreens. This year we'll have 17 event champions and at least 1 evergreen, because we know we're getting an evergreen with the end of Descent of Avernus. And that should be happening within the next few months. Do you think patron store rewards scale well to the influence needed to acquire with them? With 65 Strahd variants completed, I still can't get the familiar, which would be helpful to complete more content. Yes. I mean, each patron, it's going to be harder to get the same rewards you get from the lower patrons. But the thing is you're getting, I think what they're doing is they're scaling it. You know, the theory here is that, you know, you have your easy way to get one, and it's going to be a little harder to get more of that same thing with the next one, and then a little harder to get more of that same thing with the next one. But you should have lots of power by that point. And especially with like a familiar. I mean, there's other ways. If you're playing totally free to play, obviously, then yeah, the familiar helps. But yeah, I don't necessarily think they design the game around 100% around free to play. They give you these options like familiars to make the quality of life better, but if you really want to invest in your quality of life, throw, you know, $5 at the game and buy another familiar, or $3 when it's on sale. I mean, they've got to keep the lights on, so they keep that in mind too. Just unlock the last patron. What to do next? I mean, do all the patron variants. Yeah. I mean, unlock the last evergreens. Oh, you should have already unlocked all your evergreens by the time you unlock Strahd. That's just me. I think the most efficient. I put up a guide. That's less. I call it a new player reference. That is now up on the subreddit. Oops, sorry. Which to me is kind of the how you play through the early game, like the efficient way to play through the early game, and that's basically set up all the evergreens as your milestones starting off, and just run through and catch them all. Because not only does that get you a lot of completed content and lots of blessings and favor in all of those campaigns, but it also gets you those champion swaps so that you unlock multi-party and Modron quickly if you're planning for that. Yeah, so if you don't have all the evergreens, grab those. And then start working on patron variants, and you may need to do those manual time gates you mentioned to get more champs or more gear to be able to complete those patron variants. I mean, it's all this big feedback loop, right? You should be leveling up your Modron core. Yeah, I mean, whatever you got to do to get the pipes so that everything ends up looking, you know, like that. Is it the same event each cycle, just with new champions? Yes. Yeah. So these are all considered like, I guess you could say like holidays in the game. Like these are you know, local things that go on, and they happen at the same time roughly every year. So you're always having a High Harvest Tide, you're always having Grand Revel, you're always having etc. And then now that we're into year 4, I mean, there's only ever 3 champions that are going to be available in the event. The most recent 3 are what are going to show up. So the new champion that's never been out in the game before, then the previous years, which is now year 3, and then then the year before that, which is year 2. So the year 1 champions are now, you know, effectively, if you want to call it retired, but I just call them time gate champions because now you can only get them in time gates. And now the year 2, like a lot of the year 2 champions now, as we're going through year 4, after we've passed their event, they're now time gate champions as well. So yeah, it just, every year it's the same event, but a new champion. So for players like myself who have all the old champions and have them all geared up, when a new event arrives, our focus is 100% on, well, my focus, I shouldn't say everybody's, but my focus is always 100% on the newest champion. And I don't do anything for the older ones. Can you explain a little about the Modron core? I never understood the buffs and pipes. So I did a couple. I've done a couple of these videos now on it, or on them. Here's the second one. So Modron cores do a couple things. One, they enable automation. Like you have to activate, you know, wherever this automation component is on the core, you have to activate it to do the automation features. But they're also going to provide buffs and bonuses. Here's a list of everything that's being provided from this core. Lots of stuff there. They can give you a lot of power. I know I haven't tested how far that one will get me, but I know this is the core you get for free when you unlock multi-party and Modrons. This one, when you get it fully piped out like this, so where everything's purple, That'll get you 100 levels of progress when you slot it, minimum. Like that's like if you don't have a core in and then you push as far as you can go and then you slot this core, you're going to go another 100 levels at least. I've done that repeatedly just to see. But the goal the goal of this is to collect pipes through component chests. You get one chest every time the core itself levels up. So it starts at level 1 and it maxes out at 15. So you could get a max of 14 chests there as you're leveling up. As it levels up, it opens up more and more buff areas to explore and like to place your pipes and everything. So early on, you're going to just be, you don't have to worry about trying to get purple early on. Early on, you're just going to be trying to hook up as many of the endpoints as possible. These are the little endpoints. So early on, just getting them hooked up and getting the base buffs are kind of the key. And then as you go, as you get more components, you build up flow. The recent one I did is Gaarawarr's Guide to Modron Flow. That one's going to be up on the YouTube channel. It goes, I literally just hit, I go over here. Hold on, let me make sure I save. I don't want to hit clear and then, we'll overwrite this one. It does have this nice layout manager now. So you can do things like this. I hit clear and I piped out a bunch of this live just so you could see how it worked. And then I went and piped out that second core for the first time live on screen. And basically I go through my thought process on what you're looking for and what you're trying to do. So if you want to understand how to pipe a Modron core, that's the guide for you. If you just want to understand Modron, like automation, like how does automation work in general in the game between familiars and the Modron cores, there's a Gaarawarr's Guide to Automation up on the YouTube channel. And then there's just a Gaarawarr's Guide to Multiparty Modron, which was like when it first dropped, here's your introduction to it. So there's 3 guides that cover all of that. And yes, it is a deep part of the game. There are so many deep parts of this game, but that is definitely a big one. I'm going to see, what is a Modron? Well, Modrons are these little automaton creatures. They have a whole lore. There's a whole deep lore in D&D of Modrons. But they're like these neutral, like true neutral. I think they're true neutral, if I remember correctly. Like automated creatures that do all kinds of stuff. We have a great Modron March as one of our events in the game. I suggest you hit up like the Forgotten Realms wiki and look up Modrons if you want to find out more deep lore about Modrons. But in the game, they are basically a Modron core is basically a mechanic that allows you to. It's a progression mechanic for buffs, and it allows automation features like this, like setting formations, area goals, automatically putting buffs in. That's how they use that here. What is the strategy for when to open chests? Do you open them when you're at your wall? Do items for certain heroes drop at higher frequency when they're being played, or does it not matter? So that second part about things dropping at higher frequency they're played, no. There isn't a strategy for getting better gear out of chests. That's not a thing. For when to open them, as a new player, as you get them, because they're going to contain power, and you need that power. They're lawful, but lawful neutral. Okay. I couldn't remember if they were true neutral or lawful neutral. So yeah, there's a whole lore, and I am not the one to ask about the deep lore on Modrons. So yeah, hey, we're done. Yay. Fake it till you make it. So with chests, after you've been playing for a while, you'll then realize that you've already got everything you really need to start out of silver chests, because you'll already have gear up to blue, and silver chests only drop gear up to blue. So then holding on to silver chests to use during events makes sense, because silver chests also drop gold. So then you would use them in event runs. When you, like one of your first couple event runs, it has to be the first 1 or 2, because after that, the gold they drop is just unimportant. But in your first one or two, they can drop a fairly significant amount of gold for you. So you push as far as you can, and then you start popping silver chests, and then until it lets you upgrade a character to an important upgrade, and then you use that to push forward, and then you basically you dole them out that way on your first one or two runs to help you push as far as you can and start your favor snowball rolling. You'll get to a point eventually where you have full epics like I do on all your core and evergreens, and then you don't need to open up silvers or golds right away, which is why I'm sitting on a lot of golds. I burned over 1,000 silvers when the event started, but I burn my golds after I've already spent all of my bounty contracts for an event, which I already did, so we can actually open these up today. And this will be my bounty contract pool for the next event, is what I'm getting out of these. But I don't need anything in these. Like potions are nice, yeah, but really I'm good. What I'm looking for out of these is bounty contracts and blacksmithing contracts, right? It's going to refill up my potions, but I have a lot of potions, so I'm not super worried about those. I don't need any gear out of these, so yeah, it kind of depends on as you go, and then the order you open them in and how you use them will change on your journey through Idle Champions. You also, like, usually I would get feats out of these for champions. I already have all the feats. I already opened some right after Human came out, so I already got both of his chest feats. But yeah, that's normally another reason I would save it, is I would be getting the newest event champions chest feats instantly, right? But eventually you'll get all of the loot that comes in these, and then you don't necessarily need to open them right away anymore. And that's what's nice about the Electrum chest, is because all of these regular silver and gold chests, they're only going to drop you gear for your core and evergreens. But the Electrums, they're going to gear up all champions. So not just core and evergreen, but also all of the event champions you own. Just up to blue, though. You still have to go hunt those epics in time gates or via patron chests. Or if their event rolls around. I just find that to be the least efficient way to do it. There we go. All right, let me take a look and see. Ooh, 539 of the regulars. 60 of the blues. How many purples did I get? 7 purples. Yeah, so that's this is going to be a good number of bounty contracts. I think that's probably my target from now on, is trying to open 400 gold chests every event to get bounty contracts. Let's see, did I get my epic? Nope. All right. Hunting for my next epic with the Human chests. Just not there yet. But I will save up those Electrum chests until the next event, because the next event or the next champion that comes out, probably just the next event. Has anyone counted the Modron squares to know how many total placement pieces are on the first card? I don't know. Yeah, I don't know, because I don't think it's necessary. Right now, you can hit fully epic without needing to fill every slot, like to fill every placement piece. And you don't even need like all epic gear to do that. So, I mean, that kind of granularity is probably going to come into play after they introduce some kind of overflow mode, where getting the max possible flow out of a build is going to be like, and where there will probably be one true build for like one way to truly maximize the amount of flow you get out of each Modron core. But that won't matter. I mean, technically you could do it now, but that won't matter until there's an overflow mechanic in the game. Do chest gold count as earned gold with regards to earning favor from rent? Yes, that's why you open them on events. How many gold chests do you buy per event? Oh, I just answered that. I try to get a total of 400 chests. However many I have to buy just depends on my luck each event. I'll come back to that long one. Is there a way to rise Black Viper chance to get red gems over 30%? I'm having a hard time ramping her up. I mean, you just, whatever it comes out with the spec choice. Let's go take a look at what it starts out as. So this is a 25% chance that a red gem will drop from a boss loot attack is what it starts at. And then whatever it ends up at with her spec choice, you do collector. So now it's a 33% chance. Yeah, so that's it. That's what you do if you're stacking her red gems. And it's just slow. Just takes a while. How many do I have? Oh, 15,000. It doesn't matter. You only need 6,500. Yeah, I mean, it happens. If you're trying to just stack up Black Viper, that's... I mean, Mad Wizard works. Mad Wizard is Mad Wizard and click damage are both square holes in Idle Champions. Barney, so do you know what the thought process is for the construction of the Champions of Renown pack? Sort of, yeah. Any chance CNA would let us put together our own pack of Champions of Renown for specific gear? Probably not. You can get them on the card already. Yep, I think that might be helpful for newer players starting with this year. Yeah, they're gonna bundle with a specific goal in mind, right? Like they want to. If you look at it, you can figure this out. If you look at it analytically, they're going to look. Not only are they looking for strong champions, but they're looking for a variety, right? A variety in multiple ways. So, like year one, you get Zorbu, you get Evelyn, you get Catti-brie, you get Grama, and you get Deacon, right? So there is a mix of support, DPS, and tank here. There's also a mix of male and female here, right? They're all useful in different ways. There's a mix of there's a speed champion, there's debuffs, there's another debuff, there's buffs, and there's just ramping craziness. Wildness, excuse me. And then year two, we look again. We have speed and support, and we've got tank and support, and we've got all the support with some gold fine, and we've got crazy tankiness and outrageous tankiness and debuffs, and then support, right? So the only thing we don't kind of have here is DPS, but was there a great year two DPS? Hold on, let me go and look at my... I think when that came out, probably not. And probably because everybody was on the Zorbu kick, so, throwing out a DPS in year two as the year two champion of Renown wasn't going to land well because Zorbu. But again, you get a mix of a lot of different roles, and you get, a mix of male and female, right? And that's how we end up here, right? We get support. We get support debuffs with lots of gold. We get speed and support. And we get tankiness and supports, right? And we get a blend of male and female, right? So, yeah. I don't think they're going to let you build your own pack. This isn't a build-a-pack workshop. Because they want to target a specific type of functionality. And... if you want specific things, then you have to buy them a la carte. Zorbu, Black Viper, and Torgar stack and carry bonuses over campaigns. Are there others? Nope. That's it for right now. Black Viper was the original of that, and then Zorbu came along, and Black Viper does it okay. Zorbu does it in a very broken way, like a not okay way. And Torgar, I think, does it perfectly. Because he's not like, oh my god, I got to have him in all my formations strong. But he has this nice blend of what Black Viper does and what Zorbu does. Because he has these unlockable step ladder bonuses, like Black Viper, which are great, combined with the infinite stacks of Zorbu. But he doesn't self-buff. And that may be... I think that's probably... I don't know. I'm not a designer. I just feel like that may have been the reason Zorbu was a little stronger than maybe he should have been. We're getting close to the end of the stream. Have we heard the dings anymore from the people who were hearing it regularly? Have we heard that anymore? Anyone? Bueller? No dings. Okay. So there. Now I finally figured it out because it was driving me crazy yesterday. And I thought I'd finally gotten rid of it because I stopped hearing them last night. But I guess I didn't. So it's definitely Discord. It's definitely Discord. I'll have to check their patch notes and maybe submit a support ticket because that's annoying. I don't want it dinging in my ear all the time. I specifically have stuff set so that it shouldn't be sending audio cues unless someone like directly pings me, and this isn't. Like I'm not getting any direct messages or anything. That shouldn't have been making any noises, but I'm in streamer mode. It shouldn't make any noise at all. Yeah. Oh well. Oh well. Right, I think we're out of questions. Let's see. I'm still a little bit of a newer player. I've been struggling on the event's odd one out mission. Is there any other way to get past the bench champions to unlock the next ones for purchase? No. No. You have to earn gold. Right? It's all about gold. So it sounds like what's happening is you don't have enough favor in the event. Let's go to the event. What was odd one out? Odd one out. Okay. Oh, only every second bench slot can be used. Yeah, you don't have enough favor. If you're not easily jumping bench slots with favor, then you went into this with it and it wasn't showing a difficulty easy like this. It was probably red or orange. Favor matters. Favor is what makes things easier. So I would hit up my event guide. There's a link just straight to my post on Reddit. But then if you scroll down to Human, or this is specifically Havilar, if you scroll down to Havilar, I can show this right here. Boom, boom. This is going to take you to this page. Right, this is the Idle Champions wiki. This is my specific page on the wiki. Scroll all the way down to recent event and event champion guides, and you come down here to Grand Revel. You'll find Havilar's guide here, and it will give you tips on how to complete each of, like, well, it gives you information on her, obviously, because it's a guide about her. It gives you like a basic starter formation that you can use to then modify to best suit your needs. But then it's going to give you tips. So here's the tip for odd ones out. You're basically going to be super limited on your team options here. Make sure this shows is easy or you may get steamrolled if you're newer. There you go. That sounds like what happened. But that's actually sticky. If you just go straight to the subreddit, it's sticky at the top, or it was this morning. But I post an event guide every event, so check those out for tips. For newer players, what's the best way to build up Zorbu? Besides using adventures with beasts, humanoids, undead? No, that's not how it works. He literally builds up by killing beasts, humanoids, undead, and drow. That's it. By the time I get him off the bench, his base damage is usually too low to kill any mobs anyway. Yeah, because you're at level 1, Zorbu's nothing. And you will have pumped lots of levels into other champions. Zorbu is an investment. He isn't for brand new players. He is for players who have a lot of favor in campaigns and can utilize him, because you need to get him up to, you need to have enough gold to get him up to like level 130 or higher, in that range, for him to start beating other people, even without lots of kills. So he isn't just, I put him in, now I win, like that at level 1. That isn't how he works. You also need to be able to go farm kills with him. You have to go farm beasts, humanoids, undead, and drow. You have to. But if you haven't done that yet and you don't feel like you can, which if you don't feel like you can, you're wrong. Even at level 1 you can. You just then back your levels up to the point where, and you sit on a level that's lower, and you pull out champions if you need to, so that they stack up and then he can kill them every now and then. Like there's ways to farm, even if you don't have a lot of favor. But it sounds like you just don't have a lot of favor, in which case Zorbu's not the ideal DPS for you. Does Black Viper's red gem ability lower the number of gems you get from bags, or is it unique? No, it adds the red gems, so it doesn't remove anything else. Hermel, what would you say is the ideal favor amount for new, about 2 to 3 months in, players in the game to get in events is? Ooh, I don't know. I would say 2 to 3 months in, you should be easily getting E10. E10 or higher, easily. And all of the variants can be done at E10 or higher. So 2 to 3 months in, you shouldn't have any problem getting favor. Like when you start off, you don't immediately go do variants. Like you do the unlock missions and you treat those as favor runs. You don't stop at 50. You push deep and you try to get favor, and you do that for each of the unlock ones. And then if you still don't have E10, go do free plays and get E10. Once everything shows is green in the variants, then go try the variants. But there's no rush to get them. Yeah. And last question, because we're actually done. If you can go far enough, is it a good idea to farm favor and variants too? No. No. Just no. Variants are for rewards. They're not for farming favor. Go farm favor in a free play. You'll be happier in the end. All right. And that is it for this week. So no streams tomorrow, no streams for the rest of the day. CNE Games streams will be back on Monday morning with Champions of Lore with Trevor B. Dave Walters and Aaron M. Evans, which is just a fantastic way to start off your week. I recommend it. It's probably one of my 2 favorite streams on this channel, the other being Bardic Inspiration. That's on Tuesday with Dylan and Jason Charles Miller. So hit those up. Have a good weekend. And I will see you next week. Bye, everybody. Oh, yeah. Apparently, for those who don't know, for anyone who's still hanging around and listening to the sounds of my voice, apparently Monday there's going to be an announcement of some kind. So keep your eyes peeled on like Twitter and the Discord and the subreddit, because it'll probably end up hitting all of them. Yeah, sneak message. I mean, this was teased by Dylan on Idle Insights, so I'm just reaffirming some kind of announcement on Monday. Keep your eyes peeled. Bye, everybody.